have two great first-person guests this week. Meet Sarah Erich and Richard Raspa. Both are University of Delaware students, and each were part of teams that worked on student-produced documentaries for their class. Now, we featured students in this class over the years on First, but welcome Sarah and Richie. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Sarah, we're going to start with your team project, which was called Working for the Weekday. We're going to take a look at the clip to start us off.
Okay. Singers earn lots of money. A teacher.
A teacher? Why?
Because I like to talk about stuff.
A meteorologist. Really? Oh, cool. How come?
I don't know why. I've just always been interested in the weather.
How important is it to get a college education? 70% of Americans say it is very important, and that's as high as we have seen on that measure since we first measured it back in 1978.
And that's the same Frank Newport you hear each week on Newsworks Tonight on We11 FM. Now, Sarah, Working for the Weekday, tell me what this documentary is about.
Okay, so basically we had the idea of wanting to see what makes people happy and what makes people successful. And we've talked to a lot of people, and we realized that there's not just one way, there's multiple ways. So we interviewed someone that took a traditional route, you would say, go to college, and then went to grad school and then became a professor. We talked to someone who went to college thinking he wanted to go into music, realized he hated it, and came home and decided to become a brewer and has no intention of going back to college. And then we talked to someone that went to college, realized it was not for him at the time, and then decided to go and become a band manager for a while, and now realizes that he's learned a lot of skills doing that, but wants to go back to school eventually. And they all think that whatever route they have taken will ultimately give them success in the future.
So 70% of adults in America saying that college is essential to, I guess, success. That's a pretty staggering statistic.
Right.
Is that part of what motivated you to pick this subject matter to focus on?
Yeah, you see, like, people always say you have to go to college to be happy, and we just wanted to kind of show that that's not always exactly the case. There's people that don't necessarily go to college and still are perfectly happy and successful people. So we just wanted to kind of open the window for everyone to see that it's not just one way to go.
Do you fall in the 70%?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm in college. I plan to graduate in the spring and hopefully get a job. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, let's bring in Richie now. And Richie, your group worked on the topic of student athletes, and it was titled Net Worth. So let's take a look at a clip from your documentary.
You are putting in all of the extra hours outside of like your schoolwork. So I'm down here almost 40 hours, 45 hours a week. There's always two sides to everything, but I feel like there's a lot of universal truths about like all of this with compensation, how they should be treated, all the stuff that aren't being addressed and should be addressed.
Now, Richie, what about the student athletes does your documentary focus on?
So our documentary focuses on the payment of student athletes and the money in athletics in college. And so we talked with a student athlete, the athletic director, and a former college and professional athlete to get their take on the debate.
And did you take away anything from it after having done the whole thing?
Well, we were able to see how much money is actually in college athletics, especially the bigger name schools, and it was really interesting to see where all that money goes.
What did you learn from, the whole production process, and do you feel like you can bring that into your career down the road?
We actually faced a little bump in the road. We lost our documentary halfway through the semester.
Oh, no.
So we had to start over from scratch, and I think that was a really big point for us in being able to overcome something that we didn't know would happen. So I think I'll take that with me as experience.
And always save your work.
Definitely.
Do you want to pursue something in production post-graduation?
Yeah, I enjoy the athletics part of video production, so I want to pursue something in that field.
Okay, and what about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I want to go into a post-production field. I interned this summer in the city, in New York City, and I with a post-production house, and I loved it, and I think I really could see myself doing it for a while.
I think looking at the clips, we saw the high production value that you've put into your documentaries using, I mean, resources at a college level, which are still very good. Were you satisfied with the final outcome? Sarah, we'll start with you.
Yeah, we were really satisfied with it. We put a lot of work into it, and it shows throughout the whole project. We hit some bumps in the road as well. I mean, working in a group of people, you're always going to have differing opinions, but ultimately, when you look at the project, you want it to look good for everyone else to see. So we came together and made it look great.
I guess we call those creative differences.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Richie?
We trying to think.
We're satisfied with it?
Yeah, we were happy with it, but we were up until the last minute making changes, and but we're really happy with how it turned out.
Looking back, now that it is done, do you think we should have done this? We should have changed this? Do you still think about that sort of thing, or are you kind of saying, okay, I'm good, I'm done with it?
I was very satisfied, so I think everything that's in there was I'm kind of good with it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys did a great job.
Thank
I
you.
thought it was very entertaining, certainly better than anything I ever did in college. Sarah Erlich and Richard Raspa are University of Delaware documentary makers and students as well. Thanks again for joining us on First. And we definitely expect big things from you post-graduation, so we'll look for your name in the credits. If you want to see their work, you can check it out on YouTube.